Joining me now, Congressman French Hill. He's the chairman of the House Financial Services Committee, the chairman, as we say. Thank you for being with us, Congressman Hill. He represents the 2nd District of Arkansas. Pleasure to have you with us.
You bet, Roby. Thanks for the invitation. Good to be with you.
We're heading into our 3rd week of a federal government shutdown. As we talk here at the end of the 2nd week, we've seen another vote in the Senate that did not seem to go anywhere that the other 8 or 9 votes went. What's going to move this thing past the impasse that it's at right now? It's clear that nobody's moving their positions.
Yeah, good position. I mean, good positioning of the topic, and good to be with you. Well, John Thune today held the 10th vote to reopen government. It did not get the 60 votes they need from the Senate to break the filibuster and reopen government. So, for example, he offered the minority leader, Chuck Schumer, well, look, if you'll vote to reopen the government, we'll be happy to take a vote on things that you're concerned about, such as extending the Biden-era insurance tax credits for some in the ACA expansion population, and Schumer turned him down. So you're right. That was a new move by the majority leader, Thune, and so we seem to still be stuck. Schumer announced today he wants to speak on Saturday of this weekend on the No Kings rally in Washington, D.C. So some in Washington actually speculate that this is tied to galvanizing sort of anti-Trump support around the country, and that is leading up to this No Kings rally. So I don't have any insight on that. All I know is that we're holding military pay hostage. We're holding grant programs that fund state jobs hostage. And for me serving in my committee function, we've not been able to have important committee hearings or advance legislation during this time.
What's keeping the House from just coming into session and dealing with some of its other business besides the government shutdown business? Why can you guys not? Why can't Speaker Johnson call you guys in and conduct some of the other business that you say is not getting done?
Yeah, fair. It's a fair question, because we've passed our clean continuing resolution, which is what the Democrats in the House asked for. They asked for a clean continuing resolution that would just extend until November to complete the appropriations negotiations with no additional policy riders on it. That's what Tom Cole, our chairman of the committee, delivered. And so from the standpoint of Mike Johnson, Speaker, we've done our part on the spending piece. And if we bring people back to the House for votes, what would we be voting on if the government at large is shut down? So his view is, let's wait. And of course, you don't know in any day. Let's wait for the Senate to do their work. And in the meantime, you have congressional staffs and congressional members working on projects, but we're not formally doing committee hearings, which puts me behind on my schedule. So I really am urging senators to let's get the government reopened and continue these appropriation negotiations.
Is it time for President Trump to get in the middle of these negotiations and make this happen? I mean, if he can bring Hamas and Israel to the negotiating table, surely Republicans and Democrats in the Senate should be doable.
Yeah. Well, that's what's so interesting is that if you go back to September and you run the tape back, actually a clean CR to keep the negotiations going is what Senate and House Democrats and Republicans wanted, and that's what Trump greenlighted. Actually, he agreed to the legislative branch because he wanted the continuing resolution to run till the 1st or 2nd week of January, giving even more time for the work in the House and Senate. We know that keeping the pressure on a date is absolutely the better way to go. So he agreed to this November 21st date. And I just would urge my colleagues, let's get back to business. We had 4 bills pass the House floor. 3 have passed the Senate floor, and we need to finish our work and get the government fully funded for FY26.
I'm not sure if I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm just offering a different alternative point of view here. It's not working. I mean, there's clearly an impasse that there has to be something negotiated to change the dynamic that's up there. There's been 10 votes, as you've mentioned. It has gone nowhere. Nobody's budging, nobody's moving. Is there anything being talked about, anything being considered that might change the equation on that so that there is some sort of breakthrough.
Well, don't forget, this is not just Republicans voting yes, keep the government open, and Democrats voting no. We have Democratic support for the Republican position. We just don't have more. And I would think anyone who's a reasonable legislator would understand that if you get the government open and get Tom Cole in the House and Susan Collins and their Democratic colleagues working, you have a shot to resolve these issues within the legislative branch. That's my view. And this particular issue that Chuck Schumer references about extending the tax credits for insurance companies providing subsidized premiums to some in the ACA market, the Affordable Health Care Act, that was a COVID-19 extension of the law by Democrats. And under 4 years of Joe Biden and Democratic leadership in the House for 2 of those years, they never passed it to make it permanent. So it's expiring. This is a Joe Biden policy that was expiring. It's not something the Republicans put in place. And so I don't know if this drives Chuck Schumer or not, but he's asking, Roby, on top of that, for $1.5 trillion in new spending and to do away with all the reforms in the Medicaid program. No work requirements. So you have to understand that is also got support by some Democrats. So that's what the Schumer proposal is: spend $1.5 trillion more, do away with all the Medicaid reforms, plus some other reforms that were in the reconciliation bill, and extend a tax credit that was temporary from COVID put in place by President Biden. That's the political dynamic. And what Republican leadership says is, look, let's reopen the government and you can advocate for those positions through the appropriations process.
I think Chuck Schumer knows he's not going to win that on votes, so that's why he's holding out his position for something else in terms of arguing for some leverage.
Well, good. I'm glad you agree that it's an unwinnable suggestion. So
I do think it's an unwinnable suggestion. I do. That's why I'm advocating for adults in the room in the Senate to get together and find.
Well, I think John made that. I think John made a good faith effort to say, look, we'll be happy to give you a vote on the floor on these individual pieces of your proposal if you want to, and that you can see what kind of support it garners. But we need to get the government back over, get our military paid, our TSA agents paid, get our grant programs funded around the states, and not have these furloughed workers and workers working full time, but for half pay or no pay.
All right, last question. I get to ask all of our congressmen once a week at least one Trump question. So Rick Crawford's the Trump whisperer. I don't know if you are or not. So James Comey, Letitia James, now John Bolton, all been indicted. These are political enemies of the president who he has claimed are his political enemies, and he has advocated on social media for them to be prosecuted, and that seems to be going through. Are you worried about the kind of the political vengeance that some are suggesting is happening at the Department of Justice?
Well, I do think the Department of Justice has a high standard for its actions, there's no doubt. In these instances, just like the James Comey case, I've been in Congress over the past few years, and I've seen both Democrats and Republicans accuse him of failure in his duties and of unethical behavior, both Democrats and Republicans. They accused him of unethical behavior about how he treated Mrs. Clinton when she was a candidate, and then the same for Trump when he was actually elected in 2016. And that was a grand jury verdict. And he'll have his time in court, and if he's innocent, he'll be found innocent. But the grand jury, before the statute of limitations ran out, decided to indict him for lying to Congress. And I've had, even though I haven't been in every one of those committee hearings, I've had so many members on both sides of the aisle tell me they don't think James Comey is a person who's told the truth to Congress.
But again, just you've got Trump putting things out on his social media page, and then all of a sudden action happens. It does give the appearance that he is leading the Department of Justice down a path of political retribution.
Well, what did Obama and Biden do to Trump? I mean, this is what's been happening in Washington the last decade, is you've had political leadership appear to be opposed to political opponents and use aspects of the Justice Department in their bidding. And Trump was the biggest victim of that. And I think you're right. He's fired up. He is acting out on that. That may or may not be what I would have done, but the bottom line is, in the case of Comey, is a People's Exhibit A. It's a grand jury indictment.
All right, we're out of time. Always good to get your opinion on things.
Appreciate you, Roby.
Thank you for being with us.
You bet. All the best.